Appreciate the Better Business Bureau really sponsoring this event this morning. They're allowing us to use their GoToMeeting software, so thank you to the BBB. And again, our mission at the Nonprofit Collaborative is help build the capacity of nonprofit agencies and those who work and volunteer in them. So we are, as Christy said, pivoting to try to do that differently during this time, and I'm sure that will continue after the COVID crisis, settles down. We'll have some new approaches and such. Just a quick reminder, if you have registered and paid for any future 2020 program, we will be rescheduling all of those. And, credits will be issued, of course, for anyone, who has registered. So rest assured, you won't be out your registration. So just as a brief introduction here, again, Christy used the word pivot, and we talked about that word and shared that word in our recent board meeting a few weeks ago, and I keep seeing it out there. Organizations like ours obviously are trying to figure out new ways to turn their service delivery mechanisms, their fundraising, in the midst of this climate. Just a quick, note, one organization that I think is doing a great job at pivoting is Crayons to Classrooms. That's where my husband, Dave, works. Dave's on our call here this morning. In their service delivery model, they normally serve teachers. They distribute school supplies to teachers for their classrooms. In the last few weeks, they've distributed over 5,000 backpacks, which is amazing, full of school supplies that are going now to parents who are desperately trying to create a learning environment, in their homes, obviously. They are partnering with new partners. The food bank is an example of a relatively new partner for them. The food bank's distributing food to families, and now school supplies are going out, with that food. That's an incredible partnership for them. They're really using their social media, their messaging, their other communication systems to get the word out. Hey, we're still here, we're still serving, we're just doing it in a different way. That's really important for the community and their partners and for donors, to understand that they are figuring this out. To address their financial needs, they have applied for the PPP loan. Like many others, they're asking funders to unrestrict their dollars that were intended to go to a specific program. They're asking them to unrestrict that for general operating during this time. I thought that was an ingenious idea. They're taking this downtime to research other funders through the foundation directory online. So they're really doing a great job at pivoting. I just thought I would mention them. Maybe we'll hear from them at a future session as to how all these approaches, worked out. Shoes for the Shoeless, Jonathan is on this call. Shoes has pivoted from distributing shoes to distributing food. The House of Bread is doing carry-out meals instead of dine-in. So there's countless examples, and we're excited to share today and do a deeper dive on two of the organizations. So at this point, I'm going to turn this back over to Christy to moderate the rest of our session and to introduce our speakers.
It would help if I unmuted myself, right? Okay, so next up, we have Nicole Stirk, Resource Innovation Director at CICSA and a nonprofit collaborative board member. She is going to just get us thinking about volunteer engagement and what that looks like now and before. So Nicole?
Well, good morning, everybody. I think I'm off mute. Am I off mute?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Well, good morning. Thank you guys for joining us. I will start by saying that be prepared. I'm sure you all are to take it as a day by day, a week by week, I say challenge, task to work together with your teams to innovate and rethink how you're delivering services. And so starting off, I'll speak a little bit here about volunteer engagement, specifically at CICSA. I think some of these things are universal that could be applied to many of your nonprofits. And I also want to start before I get going here by saying, please feel free to send messages, questions in the chat box at the top right corner of your screen. As soon as I am done with this section, I will stop at the end of the section and take questions. And so I think that's the format that we're going to take for the rest of these topics as well. So please submit a question and I will be happy to make sure that they are addressed. So just talking a little bit about the standard activities volunteer-wise at CICSA. If you didn't know, CICSA is a pet adoption and wellness center. We've been around for over 45 years, and we just recently moved to our new location on Washington Church Road in Centerville. And so we have currently a little over 800 volunteers on an annual basis that work with and at CICSA. And so I will start by kind of saying what's not working. Well, a lot of our services, unfortunately, have been put on pause due to this pandemic. So we're not open for public adoptions, and our vet clinic is not open for elective spay-neuter surgeries. And so we have a lot of our staff or our volunteers that help provide support in all of those areas. So with that being said, what is working is that we have senior level volunteers as well as a group of about 50 foster volunteers that have really stepped up during this time to volunteer to house all of our adoptable pets that were at our facility when this hit. So what's working is our staff that had been trained and have volunteered to open up their personal residence to house our animals during this time, and they continue to keep coming to us to want to get trained to become a foster volunteer if they haven't. So some of that work is still happening, and we're grateful for that. So some new things that we are doing is really supporting our volunteer rewrite. I mean, how many of you guys have a volunteer manual or procedures or things that you sit and you go, gosh, we really could update that. We just don't have time. Now's the time to rally a group together. We kind of formed a committee. We got some people together that are reviewing and updating our volunteer manuals and processes during this time. Zoom and any of these platforms online have been really helpful. Google Docs, as far as co-sharing documents to help update them, has been invaluable. Something else that we're doing, we had a program that we launched in the spring of last year called the Help Center. It basically provides supports to those folks in the community who are experiencing needs. They whether that was affected by the tornadoes. We actually have some animals due to their residents being damaged due to the tornadoes. Folks coming out of domestic violence, folks going into rehab. That program, the Help Center, really has been the essential business that we have continued on during this crisis. And now we're helping house people's pets while folks are being hospitalized due to COVID. And so our volunteers, it's a different role. There are 5 folks right now that are helping with that, and we're doing curbside pickup for folks who need stuff like emergency food for their pets, supplies, things that they need, resources, and working with our hospitals to do that. So some things that we've had to do a bit differently is next week, or actually a week and a half from now, was supposed to have been our Volunteer Appreciation Week. So it's been difficult to engage our volunteers or try to figure out a way to engage our volunteers when we physically can't be together. And so what we're doing is we're actually shifting that to an online social media campaign for that week. And it actually dovetails into my next topic, which is a little later, about fundraising and donors. We actually have a corporate sponsor who underwrites and helps support our volunteer program. And so originally the plan was for that sponsor to help us offset the cost of purchasing items to recognize our donor or our volunteers. And now those, since it's moving to online, that sponsor is actually going to record a video talking about their involvement with CICSA and their support of CICSA, and using that sponsorship dollar to be a match dollar to raise dollars for our volunteer program. So it's, and during that whole week, we'll be highlighting different volunteer stories, videos, and testimonials and kudoses to our amazing volunteers. So we're having to kind of jump and jive a bit. We also, something if you don't have, I highly recommend it. It's something that has been a lifesaver for us. We actually have a separate volunteer page, a group for our volunteers. And it's kind of twofold. Right now, it's been wonderful because we've been able to continue to send communication to them. We also have an e-newsletter for our volunteers that we are also still sending. So we're making sure that we're keeping our communication channels open. But something that a volunteer page does for your team is it helps create almost a little community within a community where it's kind of like what we see a lot is that volunteers will ask each other questions and kind of work through, I don't want to say basic problems. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're just questions or they just want clarity. And they're able to help each other solve those problems instead of not having that set up and then every question gets channeled up to a paid staff member or a volunteer coordinator. So just if you don't have a Facebook group or a way for those folks to come together and ask questions, I highly recommend it. It's been a huge lifesaver for us. I will take a pause right now to allow some questions. I don't want to get past the point where I'm going quicker than we're able to ask questions. Is there anybody out there who is managing a group of volunteers that you have a specific question on how to navigate with your nonprofit? Please put that in the chat window. Here we go. Hi, Kevin. Did you set up a volunteer page on Facebook? Yes, we did. So CICSA actually has a CICSA main Facebook page, and then we have a CICSA volunteer Facebook page. And that the volunteer Facebook page is a closed group. So you basically, when you become a volunteer at CICSA, you get added to that if you have Facebook. And then if you don't have Facebook, we add you to that volunteer e-newsletter. Hi, Lisa. Have you thought through how engaging with your volunteers will look like after the crisis? Safety measures and change the way. Oh man, have we ever? I'll tell you, unfortunately, we're kind of 2 layers deep because we just opened our new facility in February and we were just now retraining all of our volunteers to our new facility because our new facility has equipment that is brand new to all of us, that to help keep the kennels and the areas clean and sanitized, and our vet clinic is incredible. So we were just working to rotate all of our current volunteers through retraining, and then the crisis happened. I can tell you that a lot of the folks who volunteer for us are eagerly awaiting to come back, but we have been talking through how do we do that safely. There was a bit of a concern for bringing volunteers in, interacting with public. So we have to figure out a way of doing that maybe safer, as well as making sure that we maintain our we have pretty high standards as far as our cleaning and sanitizing on a daily basis. But yes, it is bringing up a big question of what can we use from our retraining as a model to mimic the new retraining, but we're going to have to bring everybody back on. And unfortunately, that's not just volunteers, that's including our staff. CICSA had right around 60 paid staff members, and we are currently down to 16. And a lot of them obviously will be coming back as we reopen, but there is going to be that's part of our strategy meetings right now, myself and our CEO, is how do we build a communication plan and an operational plan that allows us to grow back into where we were. So I know it's a lot, but yeah, we are having to think through what that looks like in a whole new way. I will tell you though, Lisa, that Facebook social media. This thing is not going to go away for us, managing and working with our volunteers. So if you need some supports there or are looking to move a lot of, if you find yourself that your primary conversation has been in person or on phone, and you're needing to move your program or communication to an online platform, now is the time to really work through that. And I know we here at the Miami Valley Nonprofit Collaborative would welcome any topic that you guys feel is something you need to know. Jonathan, we'll be curious to see. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, it's not been easy for us. And like I said, fortunately, we found some new ways to, what happened was we basically paused and then we have to relaunch. And we're trying to find ways to do that incrementally. So it's not, we can bring back folks in rounds as quick as possible.
Do you see
Question
Rick?
from Rick.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of our volunteers are over the age of 60 and are reluctant to return to assist with our programs until vaccines available. How do I Man, Rick, that's a great question. I might even turn this one over to the team as a whole to see if you guys have any feedback on any volunteer groups that you've heard from. Anybody?
I wonder if there are things that they could do that if you might have to explore new ways to engage them so that they don't have to come in.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Rick, we have a group too that is, we have a group called Friends of SICSA. It's a volunteer group. It's a group of folks who sew and make like crate mats for kennels and cages. And a lot of them have been doing a lot of those kind of sewing projects or home-based projects from their homes. So I don't know if there's any sort of like, if you have an event coming up that you need stuff packed for, bags or brochures or pamphlets, those kind of things maybe could be delivered.
I'd love to jump in on that. So I work for Shoes for the Shoeless, and our volunteer base, we skew all the way from middle school kids during the school year that come along with us on shoe deliveries to retirees, which most of them are over 60. And the way that we've kind of transitioned in this time, because now we're doing food deliveries, is those volunteers, we're constantly communicating. We're really, really active on our Facebook page. We're active in sending out emails and sign up opportunities through Sign Up Genius. But what we did with a lot of the older folks is we've given them a couple ways that they can still serve. Because at the end of the day, what we know about volunteers over 60 is that they want to feel valued. They want to feel like they are contributing to society because whatever they used to be doing through work, that was their outlet for that. And what we're seeing now is if we give them opportunities just to either support financially in terms of donating money for the cause. We've launched this phone buddy idea where some of our people over 60, they will call elderly shut-ins once or twice a day just to check in and see how they're doing. That is giving them something to do. And we're hearing great stories about how they're making a difference. So I think you just got to get really creative in what can you find that aligns with what your mission is and what your vision is through this time. Because right now, everybody's shifting the mission and vision a little bit and bending it to meet the current needs of the situation that we're in, which will ultimately help the nonprofit stay relevant and then get through it on the other end. So I think if you take the time to think through creatively, what can these people do that actually helps give them purpose? That's probably the direction I'd go.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yes, thank you. That's great. And it's also great to give people a chance to solve the problems, right? I mean, it's a good time to stop and say, hey, how can we reinvent this? Or is this working or is this not working? You know, we always talk about, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we had a chance to do that? Because we're constantly running and constantly, you know, feels like you can't pause for a second. And this is that time. We just have to make the most of it.
And I think we have time for one more question. Dr. Subin's question. Do you see that one?
When the success will this reduct? Man, I'll tell you, we have I don't want to say we've thought that that could be true. I think the reality is that our staff and volunteers, the packet six, the line, first of all, the line of staff to volunteer, a lot of times our volunteers become staff or our staff become volunteers at one point or another. And so I can tell you that right now with us, for example, one of the main programs, one of the spokes of Six's programming, Humane Education, is 100% on pause right now. It is something that when we speak a little later, I'll allude to that, but it is something that with the schools being closed down and our lack of online learning programming set up, has put that whole department, that program on hold. And so now we have a group of volunteers that help with that program too. And so what we're doing is trying to figure out how do we relaunch that, or do we add a online component to it? So for us, what we're doing is trying to figure out what the programs themselves need to be looking like, and then staff, and then add volunteers to that mix. So we're right now focusing so heavily on operations of what the programs themselves need to look like, that the staff to volunteer ratios for each of those departments really has yet to be determined.
Okay. Marshall is asking, I don't know if we can answer this quickly. Is there anyone out there who is continuing with what they're doing and has found a way to utilize volunteers in a way that fulfills what they are wanting with a volunteer experience and also continues to build capacity for the organization? So I think what they're asking is, you know, has anyone found a way to continue using volunteers the way that they were? Thoughts? If maybe you have, you can answer in the chat box too. Oh, at Goodwill, well, they have the radio reading service that is still operating, but out of their homes. That's a great idea. They can do the radio reading service from their home. Very cool. Okay, we'll keep continuing. If you want to add comments to Marshall's question, please feel free to answer in the chat box. We're going to move forward. Thank you, Nicole, too, for your thoughts and experience that SICSA has had and your experience with others. We will also hear from Nicole shortly. But we're going to switch gears and talk about how we're serving our clients. And that is one of LeVar Glover's key roles at NBCCAP. And I'm gonna hopefully turn it over to him to talk about what's happening in client services.
Good morning, everybody. Pleased to meet you if I haven't met you before. And just wanted to make sure everybody can hear me okay.
I can hear you, LeVar.
Okay, that's all I needed was one. And so, I guess I want to start by just giving a message of hope and just really just hoping that your agency or organization is doing okay. I wanted to let you know that your organization is needed now more than ever. Your programs and services are invaluable to our community, and I thank you. I appreciate your leadership, your courage, your resilience, your critical thinking and problem solving during this unprecedented time. And I pray that your organization as well as family remain well, remain safe, and encouraged. And so I don't take lightly what's going on, and I don't take for granted any opportunity that I can use to support and to send a message of love just through our client base and also through the people that are doing this awesome work. And so that's my message of love to you. It really does go a long way. As mentioned, I work for the Miami Valley Community Action Partnership. My role there is the direction of self-sufficiency. I get an awesome opportunity to really engage with our customer base by providing education and direct services through a program that I facilitate called Getting Ahead and Just Getting By World. But before that, I just wanted to share that we are one of several community action agencies providing service to 88 counties throughout the state of Ohio. Our particular agency serves multiple counties. We have 4 designated offices out of Montgomery, Greene, Darke, and Preble County. And obviously our mission is to work in partnership with local communities to eliminate the causes and conditions of poverty and to promote individual independence and self-sufficiency. And like many of you, to provide hope to our community. And so what do our services look like? If you're not familiar with community action agencies, we provide services in emergency services, utility services, which is also called LIHEAP or HEAP, and for our PIP customers out there, we provide a legal clinic, we provide weatherization programming, and then we have our outreach and educational programs. And in some of our counties, we provide homeless shelters as well and housing opportunities. And so I just want to just share some updates and how we're handling and overcoming some of the challenges. And obviously, everybody has to really be problem solvers here and creative and innovative. And as I'm sure that you are, just to give you some updates and what we're doing specifically. Unfortunately, we're not taking in any in-person appointments. They have all been postponed. However, customers may submit applications and paperwork, required documents via Dropbox at all of our counties. And so we provided drop boxes for customers to come in and just to drop off any type of paperwork that may have been needed throughout this process. We're doing a lot of case management over the phone and really directing our calls, and so we can speak and to provide support to our customers. I would just to get more information and specific about what each of our programs are doing. I would like to lead you, for the sake of time, lead you to our website, and it spells out pretty much a lot of the specifics of what each program is doing. We've been using our website and our Facebook as a resource portal, not just with our organization, but other agencies and programs out there. And so our website is MiamiValleyCAP.org. And so please go there when you got some time. If you have a customer base that is in need of utility assistance and want to get more information, if they're in need of emergency services, legal clinic, and so one thing that we are doing, even though a lot of our applications have been postponed or kind of limited, we are taking applications for water disconnections and things of that nature. And so, as I mentioned, I facilitate an awesome program through the Bridges Out of Poverty initiative called Getting Ahead and Just Getting By World. We also are doing Getting Ahead in the workplace. And so, obviously, my role allows me to engage and do a lot of outreach services. And so, you ask, how are we offering that? And so, it's been pretty tough and pretty challenging. And so, one of the things that we tried, and so let me back up here. And so for the Getting Ahead workshops that we offer, we meet on a weekly basis. They're classes, again, they're education workshops for our customer base. And so we meet on a weekly basis for 12 weeks. We provide lunch and refreshments in these workshops. And our classes are at our office or at a library type setting. And we meet once a week for 2 hours. And so we, prior to COVID-19, we had completed four weeks. And so this opportunity has really been really eye-opening as a facilitator, as a worker in this field, because just when our customers were gaining momentum, just when they were gaining some hope and getting their lives back in order and kind of finding some stability there, we had this COVID-19 experience. And so we wanted to continue to engage in that. And so immediately we tried to, like everybody else, we tried to do the virtual classroom. And so we tried Zoom, we tried Google Hangout, and we quickly found out that this particular platform was the norm for business settings, or if you were in education or some type of business setting. However, it wasn't the norm for our client base, our customer base, and so we had to come back to the drawing board because it was some challenges. Not everyone had internet service. People were uncomfortable. Not everyone had smartphones, and like I said, this just wasn't a norm for the population that we served. And so we tried to use a conference call, and so we wanted to see if that would work, and that way people didn't have to use didn't have to have a smartphone or things of that nature. Our conference call line has really been really helpful, and so we've been able to continue our classes through the conference line. We also looked into an app. It's called Marco Polo, and I recommend that everybody use this app, whether it's personally or professionally. The Marco Polo app, and obviously it's smartphone friendly, is an app to where you can use your it is used as a video conference message. So you're able to leave a video message for anybody that's assigned to the group. And so you're able to have a group that can range from as many people as you want. You download it on your phone, and this app has really been helpful. It's been beneficial to our group. We've been able to stay engaged and to communicate by leaving messages. And one thing that we do with Getting Ahead, we start every group with a check-in, and that's just checking the temperature, seeing how our customers, our participants are doing, how was their week, how did they manage to get ahead this week. And we also we end class with a checkout. And so this Marco Polo app has really been instrumental and helpful in this process. We've been able to see our participants. They've been able to see me, and we've been able to give smiles and just messages of hope. And it's really have gone a long way because getting up and coming to class, didn't really know the importance of it, but for some individuals, that was they look forward to that. They look forward to coming to our office. For them, for many of them, it was their way of taking care of business, and so just being able to provide that continued support through a voice message has been really instrumental. You can leave text messages on there or some type of messaging, and what we've been able to do, we haven't just met on the day of the class. We've been leaving messages and just messages of encouragement throughout the week. And so anytime, we're led to do it, we've left prayers on there, we left quotes, and the group responds very well. And so I'm just thankful for that app and to be able to engage Mostly everybody that we started class with are continuing to participate in the class, and they've communicated that this has been a lifesaver for them. This has, being able to engage with them have kept them from being depressed and lonely. And so it's really, really been helpful. I also, while I'm on here, and I know my CEO is on here as well, but I do want to make a few announcements and really just share with everybody on here. And as you know, we're an agency always looking for partnership and collaboration. And so just to share some good news and concerns to our funding. And so we are actually will be receiving approximately $4 million in additional funds specific to COVID-19 related issues. And so we are excited about that. We're going to have the capacity to really serve our community and to really boost up our programming. Again, that's $4 million. Yes, $4 million. In addition to supplement money to assist with our LIHEAP funding, which is our utility services. And so we're going to be able to serve and do a number of things and really help some people that are in need that may have never been in a poverty situation before. And so we're thankful for that. And so I know my CEO is on here and she can speak more to that. And so another good announcement is that the federal poverty, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I want to hear this. I just want,
Okay.
I'm being cognizant of time.
Okay.
You want to think about concluding or?
Okay. So sorry about that, guys. Well, that's all I had. So we could talk about it more. Please email us. Look for us, our website. You can email me directly at levar.glover. Another program, real quickly, that we're excited about partnering is that we're going to offer a food program. And so our plan there is to produce and distribute healthy cooked frozen meals prepared by private chefs in collaboration with the Chefs Feed Dayton organization. We're currently working with the Food Bank, the How Hunger Initiative, the East End Community Services, Public Health and United Way, and also Dayton Public Schools and the House of Bread. And so we're looking to supplement food boxes, the food boxes that's currently distributed for lunch and breakfast. So we're looking to provide dinner as well. And so we can provide more information on that. So that's my spiel.
Real quick, do you think, this is from Dr. Jennifer Subin, do you think there will be an impact on your programs or client-to-client relationships in the future? Do you see them changing or going back to the way they were?
Well, I think that this definitely will impact it, our future relationships, as long as they know that we care and that we're here. And so with us being able to continue to communicate with our client base through case management and through tools like Marco Polo and on our website, maybe in the future doing webinars and creating some type of YouTube platform, as long as they know that they are not left out, I think that this will help our our client relationships in the future, because word travels fast, and I know with the clients and customers that I work with and the DeSoto Bass community and the west side of Dayton, they share to everybody just the relationships that are built. They consider me their friend. They consider me, in our Getting Ahead group as our support group. And so I do think that it will definitely have an impact.
Awesome. So thank you, LeVar. I do see that Nikki and Michelle have questions about the Marco Polo app. If you're able to use the chat, LeVar, would you mind hopping over there, answering them that way?
Yes.
And,
so sorry for taking up all the time.
Yeah, you're fine. This is great discussion. I love it. So while LeVar is doing that, I want to thank him so much for taking the time to spend with us today. He is available for questions in the chat box. And so next we want to talk, I know this is a hot topic. We want to talk briefly about engagement, donor engagement. How are we interacting with them? And fundraising. It's all about the money, right? So Nicole, if you want to come back, I'll let
I'm
you
here.
take.
All right. Well,
We are
here's
really
the.
short on time, Nicole. I just want to give you a heads up.
Yes, I will keep it brief, and then I will allow for more questions. So, real quick. So, fundraising programs that would have been. We at CICSA have 2 annual fundraisers. We have one in the summer called Lift Your Leg. It's a 5K. And we have one in the fall called the Cat's Meow, because of course we have, of course we would have puns about animals. But the one in the fall is sort of our dinner, not really a gala, but sort of a dinner styled event. So far, the fall event in late September seems to be okay, as is, but our June 6th 5K has obviously needed to 100% pivot. And so what we've decided to do is to take that Lift Your Leg June 6th event that was going to be in person. And we've had this event for this is our 9th year. So this is not a new event. This is something that has reputation in the community, but also is something that people look forward to. We've decided to turn it into an online virtual 5K. Now, at first, I'll start by saying we didn't want to lose the in-person community part of the event. So we are also going to be scheduling a fall post party for folks that registered and completed or participated in the virtual race. So the fall event won't be anything to the grandiose, planned event that was going to be the typical Lift Your Leg, but more of a tailgate style party at CICSA, and also to encourage folks, hopefully new folks that have engaged and interacted with CICSA, to come out to see our new facility and also be a part of doing some group tours and some carnival fun activities that day. So with regard to that, we have 100% had to pivot our expectation of the event. It's always been more of a friend-raiser, not really a huge fundraiser, but we do have corporate sponsors for that event. And so I'll start by saying our step one on, we say we can't meet in person, what are we going to do? We think, well, there's a lot of, if you've seen online, people are doing like online scavenger hunts and trying to get people to engage, to do things that are healthy and be active while also maintaining social distancing. So we first said, can we get the buy-in of our staff and our Lift Your Leg committee to agree to try this virtual 5K? So step one, we got to get everybody on board. We did. So now step two, which has to come, we already have to be thinking about it, but step two comes, now we have to talk to all of our stakeholders, specifically our sponsors, any of our vendors, anything we've already, reserved or prepaid for, put deposits down on, and work through those logistics. So right now, that is where we are at CICSA. We are working, my job is to reach out to all of our corporate sponsors, make sure that we, can maintain their support, but also it changes their amenities. So anybody here who is on this call that has a event, whether that's a fundraiser, friend-raiser, annual event, something this summer, it's very important that you work with your teams to figure out what are the commitments that we made to our sponsors, if you have sponsors, and how do we honor that? And I don't mean to say that we don't want to be apologetic, but we want to show them the value added. So something that we've been talking about is, what are the positives that come out of moving this event to online? And one of the big things that we've realized is that we're taking a one-day event and we're actually expanding it to be a 4-week event. So we're basically now allowing more people to be involved in different ways than otherwise maybe they would be able to. Number one, because it's virtual, it's going to allow us to have people sign up in other states, in other communities. families and people that may not have otherwise signed up to come and do a 5K. So it's going to allow us to expand our time. It's also going to allow us to engage folks that may not be runners. You know, you kind of hear 5K and you think, oh, that's not for me. So each of these 4 weeks, what we're planning to do is engage with a different audience. So we're going to be working with families to create family activities, going around your neighborhood, scavenger hunt, wear different costumes, do different things, get pictures, upload them for chances to win prizes that we'll give out at that fall party. We also are going to encourage and challenge the runners out there to say, hey, week 1, try to get a best PR, and then week 3, try again and see if you can beat it, and track your miles. And so what our goal is and our hope is, and in each of those weeks, by the way, having our sponsors sort of do a video virtual clip of them talking about their support of SIXA and this event, and getting them on board and being able to market them as well. So yeah, we're really excited about the virtual 5K. And then once again, on June 6th, so the date range is May 2nd to June 6th. On June 6th, we're going to announce to our Facebook pages. By the way, we have a Lift Your Leg Facebook page, so we can create an event if you do that. That's how we're communicating. On that date, we're going to communicate, and thank you so much for your involvement over these past 4 weeks. This is the date of the party. RSVP, come and let's celebrate and have some fun. So the system, so we've kind of got step 1, staff and committee on board. Step 2, let's get all of our sponsors and make sure that we can explain to them the idea of this event and that it's not a negative. In fact, they're going to get more exposure because it's 4 weeks of exposure versus 1 day. And we're doing native marketing. It's very integrated, so it's not just a sign on a board. It's videos and photos and content. And then step 4 is, how do we communicate this to the public? So once we set up our systems, which right now, I mean, we're talking, it's April 10th. May 2nd is when this thing's going live. And so we have a committee. We have some folks who are very committed since day 1, so 9 years strong, to getting Lift Your Leg to run and run smoothly. They are actually helping us with picking the different, the run software, the platforms, the tracking, the Google Sheets and Docs, how we're going to integrate all of that. And so right now is the time that we're working through all those pieces. So if anybody is going to be considering to convert an in-person fundraiser to an online, please reach out to me after this. I'm happy to talk more about it and talk with you through our decisions as we're making them, because a lot of them have not been made yet. So I'm going to kind of, in sake of time, shift real quickly to changes that we have made to with regard to donor engagement and fundraising, and some things that you shouldn't do or that don't work. So changes made to our donor engagement and fundraising. The biggest one is working with our sponsors and adjusting our events, communicating their amenities and their expectations, and positioning that communication very clearly, but also from we're really excited and we hope that you are continued to be excited. So that's kind of just the general feel that we're approaching sponsorships with at this time, and donors. And so far, everybody has been, hey, we're making lemonade out of lemons, and that's their approach, because we're thinking about them and their commitment to us. With regard to our grants, we're also looking at reevaluating programs. So, right now is kind of the end of what you would say is the spring grant cycle. And so now folks are getting ready for fall grant cycles. And so it's definitely hard. You have to put a different lens on to think through programs and what they could be or will be, assuming you got funding in the fall for programs that probably would start no earlier than the winter for the next calendar year. And so during this pause, when we're stopping and we're thinking, and once again, I go back to the example of humane education, we didn't have any, we didn't have any online learning curriculum set up. So you guarantee us that that's what we're thinking about. How do we grow our online presence moving forward for online classroom learning? And so we're doing a lot of that. So another thing Jenny mentioned earlier at the beginning is that if you have grants currently that you have been awarded that have been earmarked, or donors who have given that have earmarked funds for a specific purpose, it is a good time to ask those funders if they would be willing to release them or allow them to be used for general operating instead of specific programs that may not be happening currently. And then the obvious need is to make sure we get through this to be able to continue to provide services. So the worst thing that can happen is they say no. So it's worth the ask. It's worth the ask. Something else that we're doing at CICSA with our donors is we're actually calling our annual donors and asking them to consider giving their annual gifts early during this time of need. And in just this past week alone, we have already brought in $40,000 this way. And so if you have folks that have been committed to your organizations and have been faithful in end of year giving, and you call and ask them and explain to them that, you'll be surprised and shocked that some folks will come through and provide that funding now. So that's been the most critical thing. It is not the time to solicit new sponsors. It's not the time to solicit new donors. It's insensitive, and we don't want to be seen that way. So we're simply not doing that. We're finding new ways to work around that. What's not working, I would say, unlike for-profit businesses, nonprofits, really, we can't be one-trick ponies. So we have to diversify our income strategies and the platforms we use for them. This may not be helpful right now, but it's critical that we start planning that way and figure out how do we get more diversified as an industry. This time has shown us that we can't be really reliant on only special events or only direct mail or only grants, that we need options. And for CICSA, we've done this through Pet Once. We actually own a pet food company. So we have a retail component. We also had a corporate sponsor, it's Boston Stoker, and I work with them to create a CICSA blend coffee. And so we have a product that we're able to sell as well as a partnership. And then we also have other, retail, basically you're looking at it from multiple channels and multiple ways to look at revenues. And what doesn't work is to throw up a number and just sit back and just hope that donors pick you or that they show up to your services on their own. We need a plan, an attack, and then work that plan. So I hope that this is a time that you guys are thinking of new ways to diversify, create new ways to partner with people, expand your partnerships. And I will pause here to say I am happy to meet with you and support you. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do, is to talk to folks about things that they're doing for nonprofits in your nonprofit, and helping folks figure out ways to work together to expand opportunities and to make all of us stronger.
Thank you, Nicole. If folks have questions, we are going to give Nicole Nikki's, everyone probably would love it, your direct email in the chat option so people can reach out to you afterwards. And we will also have, the last slide has all of our contact information on it. So if people do have questions that they want to stay on and have answered, please feel free to post them or email Nicole directly. But we will have Jenny kind of wrap up for us.
Okay, well, speakers, thank you very much. Excellent ideas and tips. I'm always so excited to, I feel like I learn the most, right, from talking to everybody and hearing what they're doing. So LeVar and Nicole, thank you so much for sharing. What's next? We are organizing a webinar. This will be held on May 1st from 10 to 11:30. So now your strategic plan needs a crisis plan. Whether we realize it or not, we are actually in the midst, we're building our crisis plan in the middle of the ocean, right? So Nina Vasilou, who just recently conducted a full workshop for us on strategic planning, she's going to guide us through in this webinar what is a crisis plan when we have time to actually develop one ahead of time, what are the components, how it's used, and then we're going to talk about, okay, this crisis moment that we're in right now, how do we incorporate that into our existing strategic plans? It's unlikely that any of us are going to be able to achieve everything we had planned for 2020. So how do we adjust our strategic plan, but still achieve realistic and strategic, important, kind of goals for the year? So watch for registration information. That is coming out very soon, probably in just the next couple of days. We are going to be, as Christy said, we're going to be reviewing all of the suggestions, the questions and such for other content that you need in addition to what we covered today and in addition to crisis planning coming up on May 1st. So watch for that in the e-blast. Email me, give me suggestions. What do you need to know? What do you want to hear? And we will keep working to deliver that content to you. Watch for our e-blast, again, newsletters, our Facebook page, our website, for rescheduled dates for our 2020 programs. If you're not already, you can subscribe to our newsletter so that you make sure you receive all of this information as quickly as possible. And just in closing, again, I'd like to thank our speakers, and I'd like to thank Christy and the Better Business Bureau for supporting us today. And just again, over the last few weeks, I just keep thinking of that old adage of necessity is the mother of invention. We are certainly in that moment right now. Admittedly, I myself would not have pursued this type of virtual gathering that we're doing right now without a little prompting, or actually a huge prompting from COVID. So we're all being considered or needing to consider new ways of serving and fundraising and really sustaining our organizations and our employees. So we're here to support you. We appreciate the nonprofits that are willing to share their best practices, things that are working and not working. Let's keep doing this. As LeVar said earlier, after this is all over and or just settles down, our nonprofit community is going to be called on more than ever to serve our community. So let's support one another and be strong all together so that we will all be better poised to serve our community. We look forward to reconnecting again very soon. Stay safe and well out there. Happy Easter, and we hope to talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you again very much. We're gonna go through the chat and make sure we answered everyone's questions, and hopefully the recording worked. So look for an email. Thank you.